Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, we could have played the Honourable Member last year's debate and no one would have noticed, as it's the same performance year in, year out. Much like their leader, they have a different version of the same old song every year, which they wrongly think is Sega de l'année. One year it's confetti, the next year is réchauffé. Hardly do they realize that they are the ones actually serving us du réchauffé year on, while they themselves lie scattered around the benches of the opposition like confetti after the party is over. Let me remind them of their frenzy and panic when they thought we were facing un état d'urgence économique for so much less. Tel un certificat d'échec qu'on s'est auto-octroyé, histoire de saboter sa propre campagne électorale et sceller le sort de son parti à jamais. In contrast, we have witnessed last Friday yet another calm and composed financial strategy being laid out by my friend, the Honourable Minister of Finance, and his team at the helm of the Finance Ministry. I can understand the position of the Honourable Member of the Opposition. Obligated to find something to criticize must not be an easy task. Not after this budget. But you have been a prophet de malheur for more than a decade now. That's 11 consecutive budgets, and the rhetoric does look rehearsed. Well, except maybe in 2014, that year, you didn't worry too much about the absence of a budget or that the National Assembly had met only 8 times for a whole year. Mr. Speaker, sir, since last year's budgetary exercise, government has acted swiftly to counteract the effect of the closure of our borders, which has incapacitated the tourism sector by injecting considerable resources in another economic pillar, which is our construction sector. With the pandemic raging for over a year now and the world travel at a standstill, with hindsight, avec du recul, the investment in our construction sector has been a brilliant move. In the current budget, my ministry, which has under its aegis departments such as Road Development Authority, National Development Unit, Land Drainage Authority, has been entrusted with an envelope of more than 20 billion rupees over the next 3 years. I can only humbly presume that my ministry and my team have passed its one-year test successfully and shown that the trust by the Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister is not misplaced. Mr. Speaker, sir, as my learned colleagues will know, that building and constructing our infrastructure is a complex endeavor and does not only involve contractors, but also consultants, experts, engineers, quantity surveyors, architects, masons, artisans, and all the supporting costs such as office workers and drivers. It is also important to highlight that it also involves other stakeholders, such as the suppliers and retailers of all types of construction material and other related accessories. In parallel, it also creates a need for food, catering, transport, banking, insurance, just to name a few. It is vital to understand that there is a whole supply chain that is linked to these projects. This represents thousands of employees and thousands of households who in turn contribute to our economy. Therefore, boosting this sector has helped us preserve thousands of jobs through 2 lockdowns, as well as creating new ones. Mauritian adaptability and resilience is well known, Mr. Speaker, sir. And many have actually seized the opportunity to embark into a reconversion and are now thriving in this growing sector and its related activities. One of the major reasons for the increased construction growth rate in 2017 is the government massive investments in major infrastructure projects, namely the Metro Express project and the road decongestion program. Other government projects such as the construction of a sport complex at Côte d'Or, construction of Bagadelle Dam, including treatment plant and other associated works, NSDC housing projects, port development and utilities projects have had a significant part to play in the higher growth rate. The higher growth rate is also attributable to some extent to the heavy investment by the private sector, mainly under the Smart Cities scheme pioneered by our Prime Minister. At this pace, it was expected that the construction growth rate would hit a 2-digit figure in the forthcoming years. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, sir, the unexpected advent of the COVID-19 pandemic seriously hampered the expected growth, and an eventual and unavoidable decline was noted in 2020. However, today, thanks to our efforts since June 2020 and the previous budgetary exercise, and while the whole world is at a halt, the construction sector in Mauritius is thriving once again. What seemed impossible only a year ago is now a reality, just like in 2017, when this vital sector of our economy took off. We are on the rise once again. This is no coincidence, but it has been achieved through hard work, determination, and smart thinking. Much has been said, Mr. Speaker, sir, about the coming amendment to the CIDB Act. We live in a dynamic world, and we need to adapt to the changing realities of the industry. But most importantly, we need to ensure that we achieve 3 major milestones. Firstly, ensure the integrity of the sector by making sure we filter out the non-desirable elements. Secondly, a harmonization of the different overlapping legislation to ensure facilitation of the operators. And thirdly, the democratization of the sector to attract new generation of builders and professionals and providing them with an opportunity to bid for a piece of national projects. The CIDB Amendment Bill has been introduced in the National Assembly on the 6th of April at first reading stage, because there is a need to review urgently the existing legal framework governing the construction sector. The current legislation comprises major shortcomings that must be remedied urgently for the country and local entrepreneurs to reap the maximum benefits from this boom that the construction sector is experiencing. Furthermore, the CIDB certainly needs to be empowered and adequately equipped to help it deliver on its mandate more efficiently and effectively. All parties have been consulted lengthily, and I do understand, and it is normal, that there are certain apprehensions. Nonetheless, at second reading stage later this year, we will be able to debate on this piece of legislation, and we will provide better clarity on every aspect of the changes to all of you. With a stated aim of facilitation and democratization of the process, contract allocation for infrastructure projects and building projects in general, we have also decided, Mr. Speaker, sir, to review our grading system for the contractors. At present, we have 1,459 contractors repartitioned into 9 grades from A+ for the largest and to H who are lower down the turnover ladder. It is key to note that the entities with the highest grade make up only for 3% of the total number of contractors, while the lowest grade represents 85%, which then causes a disparity in the selection process. This grading system has caused much frustration among contractors who miss out on a contract since they could not meet the many requirements to belong to a better grade. It has created a glass ceiling for them, and this must change. We are now proposing a simplified, three-tiered graded system, namely large, medium, and small contractors. The new system would entitle contractors to venture into bidding for higher value projects if they consider they have the capability to do so, without any constraint from a grade ceiling perspective. It would also encourage more healthy competition and hopefully lead to more competitive bids for national projects from local contractors. It should also ease the pressure on these contractors to constantly seek an upgrade in order to be able to bid for higher value projects. This new system would open opportunities, in particular for SME contractors, to secure more projects within their capability and expertise. This shift in approach will warrant amendments to the CIDB Act. Such a change would also require a review of the registration criteria for each new grade, which can be done as a CIDB policy, council policy. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me now to move to another important issue. Dare I say, the most important global change of our times. Climate change is more than ever a national concern. We are now faced with an unpredictable and capricious Mother Nature being now recognized global phenomenon with frequent disastrous events noted around the world. Recently, we have experienced flash floods in the southeast region of the island, with a total amount of 400 millimeters of rain registered in just 6 hours. Unprecedented to date, but I fear it will not be unique. And earlier, the honorable member who spoke before me was talking about building drains year in, year out. I think he's getting it totally wrong there. I'd like to take an example. In Singapore, for instance, one of the countries which has a drain system which we can classify as world-class, they have 11 kilometers of drain per square kilometer of territory. As compared to Mauritius, we have only 1 kilometer per square kilometer. Nevertheless, few days later, after other flash floods that happened in the southeast, they have suffered the same fate. There was like water everywhere in Singapore despite that drainage system. So the solution doesn't lie only in drainage system. And we must agree that there will be no dry feet policy, as we will have to take decisions. At some point in time, it will rain 100 millimeter, 200 millimeter. Those rain maybe will work, some will not, and then we'll have to evacuate. So it's giving the wrong impression to the population that this problem will be solved just by building the drain. A bit further down south, Mr. Speaker, sir, New Zealand experienced weather condition which has been categorized as a 1 in a 100-year deluge. In Brazil, last week, Mr. Speaker, 280 millimeters of rain in 24 hours has caused flooding in the region of Santa Catarina. At the same time, the city of Ankara in Turkey was swamped. Similar events have been witnessed in India and Australia. The list can go on, but the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, the whole world is facing this unpredictable weather phenomenon. The years of prosperity have indeed given us years of demographic growth, but there has been leniency on the way these developments were done. We have now heavily built up areas of a natural watercourse, unfortunately, or with very limited space to operate. It is therefore fundamental to point out that the task at hand is to mitigate the impact of climate change in our country. We are talking about mitigation. Take my constituency, for example, Mr. Speaker, sir. Following the events of April, many regions have been inundated. However, thanks to the drain projects currently under construction in Mortaba, Trois-Boutiques, Plaine-Maillan, we have avoided the worst. And I'd like here to thank my two honorable friends, Honorable Toussaint and Honorable Kabidelob, for their unflinching support. Even Honorable Ramphel has been on site, especially at Plaine-Maillan, where he stood in one of the drains. We are constructing and shared picture on the social media and everything, criticizing the design. That's fair political game. That's fair political game. But I think I've made us also, I believe he was not ill-intentioned. Maybe he was misinformed by some people who were confused between what is an absorption drain and a carry-away drain. But I can reassure the member and my constituents that the 594 million rupees of drains in Maibourg, Plaine-Maillan, will be put to good use to reduce impact of heavy rainfall to a minimum. Our main objective is safety of our inhabitants and to save lives. Because once again, I wish to insist on the reality of the situation. The zero risk does not exist anymore. Nonetheless, we will ensure that we are better equipped and better prepared to cater for the storms that await us. Mr. Speaker, sir, this starts with better planning. And ever since its setting up in 2018, the Land Drainage Authority has been on the forefront to build our resilience against flooding and taken groundbreaking and innovative measures to combat the effect of climate change in our country. We have now a digital elevated model which provides us with a more detailed picture of the topography of Mauritius and the Drakes. With this, we have been able to identify flood-prone areas across the island, 294 flood-prone areas, and even single out regions where there are risks of loss of lives. 48 such sites have been declared high-risk flood-prone areas. Emergency projects have been initiated and have reached either design stage, construction stage, or have been completed. We currently have around 1,400 kilometers of drain around the island. The unpredictability of heavy precipitation and water accumulation has shown that this is not enough. With the additional funds provided in the budget for construction of drains, we believe we can easily double this figure to improve considerably our resilience to natural calamities such as flash floods. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, constructing drain is no easy feat. As mentioned for decades, haphazard constructions on natural watercourses have been tolerated, and now this management heavily impacts the daily lives of our citizens. We note as well that nowadays our rivers easily outflow during heavy rainfalls, and it is a lengthy process to obtain permission from the Supreme Court under the Rivers and Canal Act to properly implement practical solutions. The Land Drainage Authority has held up to now only an advisory role, and that could only make propositions and recommendations without the power to enforce. I'm very pleased to note that this situation has been remedied in this budget, with 6 different legislations which will be amended to give more power to the Land Drainage Authority to ensure proper maintenance of drain across the island, implement projects on rivers and canals, and intervene on private-owned land to construct drains where the risk of flooding is high. Furthermore, the LDA will become a full-fledged member of the Moselma Board, which will provide the LDA the capacity to ensure that projects do take the safety concerns into consideration. Already, several requests for Moselma permits have been rejected based on the recommendation of the LDA due to non-adherence to or absence of a drainage plan. In line with the same thinking and vision, a member of LDA will now sit on the board of the Road Development Authority and therefore ensure that our drainage policy is also applied on our roads and thus guarantee uniformity across the whole island. Since the precedent budgetary exercise, we have embarked into a new era of economy, a rebuilding process. We are remodeling the Mauritius of tomorrow. Despite the obstacles such as the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been turned such negative situation into opportunities. In line with our philosophy, there is an opportunity for the public and private sector alike to embark on the path of a new and modern Mauritius with the state-of-the-art infrastructure, a country which is resilient and sustainable. The MSM, Mr. Speaker, sir, has always been the party to initiate such paradigm shifts and accompany the country into new eras. We are reminded of the economic boom of the early 80s, followed by the accession of Mauritius to the status of republic in 1992, the cyber city in Eben in 2000, which was the cornerstone of our ICT sector today. And now we are sending a Mauritian satellite into space. And the 2030 vision, which saw the emergence of smart cities. Those major transitions in our economy were made possible by the MSM party and the then leader and Prime Minister, the late Sir Anirudh Jagannath, throughout his 18 years of Prime Ministership. Following those footsteps, our current Prime Minister, Pravin Jagannath, delivered on his promise as Prime Minister by introducing the long-awaited minimum salary. This marked a new chapter in our beautiful history, when together with a negative income tax, over 100,000 Mauritians benefited from a landmark social measure. Up to then, Mr. Speaker, sir, there were men and women who were earning barely 1,500 rupees monthly. An injustice was aptly corrected, and that will be noted highly in our history. Moreover, old age pension has tripled in 6 years, and despite a tough economic situation, it has remained untouched. In 2017, it is Honorable Pravin Jagannath who set the ball rolling for major infrastructural development in the country with the road decongestion program. This not only showed his vision for the better mobility in our economy, but also the need to ease the lives of the citizens. The vision we had 4 years ago is being already materialized with new roads in Grand Bay and Rivière du Rempart, already operational, as well as the A1, A3, which has now connected Gros Caillou to Coromandel. Very soon, he has sowed upon his accession to the post of Prime Minister in 2017 will bear new fruits with Pont-Fer Jumbo Daulat grade separated junction and with the Hillcrest flyover due to be operational. The A1 M1 bridge, a structure which will be a first in Mauritius and the Indian Ocean, will allow inhabitants of Bamboo, Gros Caillou, Albion, and other surrounding regions through the A1, A3 road to connect to the motorway in a matter of minutes. This is a bold project which once again highlights the heights to which this government is taking our country. The next phase of this major road infrastructural development is the La Vigie, La Brasserie, Bosonge Link Road, which will be extended to Ficanflac. In so doing, we will connect the central part of the west coast to the motorway. The next phase of the M4 from Pont Blanc to Forbach will be initiated in this current financial year. We will, through thick and thin, pursue with this government endeavor to alleviate traffic all along the motorway at the strategic points. Flyovers at Kédé and Wooton will soon be a reality. As for the Eben flyover, a holistic approach will be adopted so that its reconstruction benefits not only Eben, but the whole surroundings. The impact of reduced travel time and enhanced mobility is very significant on the economy and the lives of people. It is expected that the savings to be in billions, which is otherwise lost due to the workforce stuck in traffic. All these projects, Mr. Speaker, sir, form part of our master plan for roads, which will serve its purpose for generations to come. In comparison, let's face it, what has Labour, PMSD and MMM government contributed to this country? The PMSD has always been a béquille. Every time they went government, and their last notable achievements date back to when Sir Gaëtan Duval was in government in 1988. The MMM have nothing to boast about for the past 16 years. And their last major contribution to this country was thanks to the MSM. This leaves us with the Labour Party. Gaz ménager at 330 rupees, hedging, a coffer full of secret banknote and local and foreign, a stimulus package for party members, fake tertiary education, like the Honorable Utim just was mentioning the grade of our universities, but there it was fake universities, Mr. Speaker, sir. A new airport for we know who. But we need to be fair. We need to be fair to them. We have to give them the credit for the effort in the M3, Terre Rouge Verdun Road, which collapsed, unfortunately. And again, it was the MSM government who had to go and fix that and make it work, of course. This is what differentiates our leadership from theirs, Mr. Speaker, sir. Back in the 80s, Sir Anirudh Jagannath was wise enough to create National Development Unit in order to bring development at the doorsteps of our citizens. This department has been responsible for thousands of community projects across the island, including small roads, drains, and amenities such as football, volleyball pitch, children playground, cab offices, followed in order to provide Mauritians an easier way to communicate with government with regard to difficulties they meet in their daily lives. Our current Prime Minister took this brilliant measure to the next level by creating the CSU portal. Now, for every problem, the solution is just a click away. During the previous financial year, the NDU completed around 140 small projects all over the island, and another 250 projects are currently ongoing. Maybe my honorable friend Utim didn't have that piece of information. Moreover, the NDU is a strategic arm of the LDA in the implementation of our emergency drain projects in Mauritius and Rodrigues. Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget epitomizes this government philosophy of being innovative, bold, and pragmatic. And I want to say to the Minister of Finance, being a Minister of Finance in this trying time is not an easy job. It's easy to sit behind your computer, behind Facebook, behind TikTok, whatever, not, and criticize year in, year out. But being there, that's totally different ball game. And to him, I'll say, history will remember you. With the amount of money being injected to paste,
Honorable Nya, we spoke.
Yeah. With the amount of money being injected in the construction sector and the amount of projects entrusted upon the RDA, the NDU, and the LDA, we will now run at a rate of 2 new projects a day for the next 3 years. This is an unprecedented wave of progress and development. For a government to deliver not 1, but 2 consecutive optimistic budgets in such a dire time, it is testimony of our ability to guide our country to prosperity again. Late Sir Anirudh Jagannath, in his last budget speech in 2019, said the following, and I quote, "I have always believed that one ego cannot override one patriotism and duty towards the motherland." End of quote. I think this is some food for thought for some opposition member. I can assure the House and the population at large that this government, under the Prime Ministership of Pravin Kumar Jagannath, will never let you down. We are here to serve our country. We are here to preserve our country from this world crisis. We are here to lay the foundations for future generations. And we will leave no stone unturned until we reach that goal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.